Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our virtual Meet the Expert session. My name is David and I'm part of the My World Work Live team with Skills Development Scotland. The My World Work Live is about helping you to understand what jobs in Scotland are going to require in the future and to also help you get the skills you need for them. So in today's session, we're going to cover a quick overview of the energy sector, a look at opportunities within the sector. I'm going to introduce you to our experts for today, Kenny Bowie and Ashley Marshall, and allow you the opportunity to ask any questions. I would encourage you to get involved as much as possible, so please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask us questions. As we go through, we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. I would just like to let you know that today's session is being recorded so that young people who could not make it today can still access the resources. It will be available for everyone to watch on the My World Work Live playlist on the My World Work Live YouTube channel. This means you can go back and rewatch everything that's been talked about today. If you're feeling a little bit shy, don't worry, everything you ask today can be anonymous and you can select that option in the Q&A box. So just before I introduce you to today's experts, let's have a look at some of the labour market information around the energy sector. So some of the occupations around the energy sector are jobs like energy engineer, electrical engineer and electrical engineering technician. So the energy engineer has an average UK salary of around 36,400 and 91% of energy engineers are full-time employed. Electrical engineers, average UK salary is around 48,360 and UK employment status for them is around 92% full-time employed. And electrical energy technicians, again, average UK salary around 31,200 and UK employment status for them tends to be around 90%, so mostly full-time. So routes for entry tend to be foundation apprenticeships, modern apprenticeships and graduate apprenticeships. You can also access this sector through a college course or a university degree. Right, so let me introduce you to your experts for today. So we've got Kenny Bowie, who is the Head of Planning and Design Resources. He started with Scottish Power way back in 1984 as a craft apprenticeship. He had a steady career path from on the tools into a management role, and he believes the energy sector is wide and varied and there's a position for everybody in it. We've got Ashley Marshall, who's an apprentice power engineer. She started by SP Energy Networks in September 2020. Worked through various training programs, including the HNC in electrical engineering. Ashley works in our local district and is attending various jobs to get as much experience as possible. Ashley's role combines both practical and out of office based work. She says there's always something new to see and opportunities for training and development. So without further ado, let's pass over to our experts and we'll start with Kenny. And if you can just tell everybody a wee bit about yourself, Kenny, and your career.
Okay, thanks, David. Yeah, good morning, everyone. As it says here, Kenny Bowie, Head of Plan Design with SP Energy Networks based in Dumfries. I lead a team that effectively provide quotes and designs for everything, you know, from new supplies, whether it be for a new house right the way through to wind farm connections. And a mixture of that can be customer funded work or it can be our own internal modernisation programmes.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll pass over to Ashley, and just if you can tell us a wee bit about your career and your job and how you got here, Ashley, that'd be great.
So good morning, I'm Ashley. I'm an apprentice power engineer. So I've been with the company just for a few months now. But when you first start out, you're doing a few training courses for the first kind of 6 to 8 weeks. Then you're out and about in your district. I'm based in Dumfries as well. So at the moment, I'm just trying to gain as much experience out in the network, while also studying for a HNC. So you do that over 2 years because it's part-time. And I kind of found myself in this role after a bit of floating. So I went to uni straight for school, didn't like it, done a couple of other jobs and then found this apprenticeship which just fits everything that I was looking for.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll just move straight to questions, and if you don't mind, I will start with yourself, Ashley. So what sort of tasks do you do day to day?
So that can be, it's totally different each day. You know what's happening in your week because there's schedules there and there's planning in place. So you know what's happening, but each day could be totally different. You could be out one day with the guys on the lines, so you could be replacing a pole or installing a transformer or something like that. But then you could be out with the jointers, so that's joining the cables together. So it's underground work. Or you could be in a substation, you could be looking at switching. So every day is totally different.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask you this question as well before we move on. What skills are most important for you to do your job?
Most important, confidence is a big one. You're working with electricity. You can't be wary. You be safe, but you're not. You need to be confident. Communication is probably the other one as well, because you're always working in a team, and like I say, it is an environment where things can go wrong. You need to be very aware of your surroundings. You need to be very aware of what's happening. So communication within your team is very, very important.
Excellent. Excellent. So we're going to give you a wee break. We're going to switch over to Kenny, and I've got a question directly for you, Kenny. So what will be available in future in terms of apprenticeships? What will future apprentices be required to know?
So within the industry, we're going through quite a large recruitment. We have been for a few years now of replacing a lot of the staff through apprenticeships. This week it has opened up for all apprentices, whether it be the trade apprentices, so that's linesman, fitting and jointing, and for the higher skills apprentices, which is effectively a trainee engineer. And we also have the project management apprenticeships, which is one that's non-electrical based, but it uses a lot of the skills required to plan out a lot of the many works that we do. So we're going through this campaign at the moment, and across all areas of Scotland, we are taking on somewhere reasonably about 24 apprentices per year, and that will continue as we replace our workforce, and also as we look towards some of the new technologies and some of the challenges it's going to be there for us in future years, with the introduction of electric vehicles and what we need to do to have the network ready going forward.
Excellent. That brings nicely onto another question that's come in, which is how is SP Energy Networks contributing to the Scottish Government's renewable energy objectives?
Well, as you can imagine, the objectives have been clearly set out, what we want to achieve, and in Scotland they are very ambitious compared to the rest of the UK. So in lines with that, and starting just now, and for our new regulatory year starting in 2023, we will be looking at upgrading, substantial parts of our network, for the introduction of electric vehicles, and the phasing out of gas boilers with ground and air source heat pumps. All these things are going to go from a drain in our electrical network. We've been quite lucky in the last few years with the introduction of LED light bulbs, and to name one of the new technologies, the demand has reduced, so now it's going to flip itself, and as a business we're getting ready for that. And also at the same time, we invest quite heavily in a whole lot of innovation initiatives. So, MD joining the industry, it's really exciting times ahead as, new technologies come on board, whether it be the types of kit that we use, batteries, the introduction of hydrogen. So these are all the things that, there's not one combined new technology or low carbon technology come forward, but however, the blended solution of them, and we'll have a network that's ready for them.
Excellent. So we're going to switch back over to Ashley. So I've got a question here, and it's do you find there's many other girls working in this sector?
No, it's getting better. Like, it really is getting a lot better. Like, I'm the only girl in my year of apprentices, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only girl engineer in Dumfries district. But there's more and more women coming into it, which I think is really important. But I don't think it's something that you should be intimidated by. Everybody that I work with is really nice. Like, that's just the main point. But it's not really, like, I can see why it would be intimidating, but for me, it's not really a concern. Like, it's not something that was ever presented to me as a concern. When I was at school, I had two teachers. They were both maths teachers, both women, both previously engineers. So that was never something I was introduced to that I couldn't do, or that wasn't possible. So if you're a woman and you're thinking about it, just do it.
Yeah, that's some excellent advice there. So as somebody who's came kind of in recently, I've got a question here which I'm also going to put to you, and it's, what can I do as a young person at school to get involved in this industry? So if you could tell us a bit more detail about your experience.
Just try your best to get the best possible qualifications. So the programme that I'm on, you need 2 hires to get onto, but like the craft apprenticeships and stuff like that, that's national 5s. So regardless of whatever one you would be looking to go for, just try your best to get the best possible qualification. One of them for the power apprenticeship does have to be maths. So, like, for example, my hires were maths, English, chemistry, physics, graphics and business management. And all of that combined has been really useful across what we need to do in our role. But just as long as if you're keen and you work hard, that's the main thing.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm going to just flip across to Kenny and put this question to Kenny as well to get his perspective on it. So Kenny, what could young people do at school to get involved in this industry? And off the back of that, somebody else has actually asked a really good question which I want to put to you, which is, can I get work experience in Scottish Power?
Okay, thanks, David. If people getting ready to work within Scottish Power or SP Energy Networks, really the careers within the business is very much about what you as an individual want to do and where you are as part of your studying at the moment. You have craft apprenticeships which start which look for 3 NAT 5s. So that is, like, say, not a foundation apprentice, but that's a trade apprenticeship. So if you're on school, if you're ready to leave and you've got your 3 NAT 5s, you have opportunities there. The higher skills apprentices are about having hires. So if you're in 5th year and 6th year studies, you can be getting ready by studying 2 hires in those subjects. And some as well, we also have graduate recruitment through universities. So if you think maybe I still want to go down the university line, but I want a career in the likes of Spen or a business like us, you can go away to university, get your qualifications, and then come back to work. So it really depends where you are as an individual, where you see your school work and your studies going, and at what time do you want to, what's right for you to start looking for a career in the industry.
Excellent. I've actually had quite an interesting question which I'm going to put to you, which is, we've heard of Scottish Power but not SP Energy Networks. What's the difference?
So Scottish Power is effectively who you pay your bill to. We are all businesses as part of what we'll call the Iberdrola Group, which is Spanish-owned. Scottish Power is the business where you pay your bills to and all that kind of stuff, where Spen is the wires business. So we effectively make sure that the power gets to every individual premise and every individual office, school, home, and we're responsible. It's a 24/7 business that keeps the lights on, and as a result, sorry, lost my train of thought there.
That's all right.
So within SP Energy Networks, that's what we're really about is keeping the lights on where Scottish Power is who you pay your bill to. And within Spent, it doesn't matter who you pay your bill to. Within Central and South West Scotland and Mersey and North Wales, we will make sure that you have your lights on 24/7.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to jump back to Ashley, give you a wee rest there. And so Ashley, what would you say are the most enjoyable and the most challenging parts of your work?
Most enjoyable is probably just the fact that it's so varied, and it's flexible. Every day's different, which for me is a good thing. I don't like it when things are just monotonous, same. There's so many different things that you can be out doing, so many different things you can get involved with. So that's probably the best thing that I like. Probably the most challenging is just how it's a big learning curve. You've got a lot of support, you've got a lot of resources, you've got a lot of training, but it is it's no easy, do you know what I mean? So yeah. It's a big learning curve, but it's rewarding. So
excellent. A lot to learn, but you're well supported in it.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. What we'll do is we'll flip back to Kenny at the minute, and I'll put this one to you. So Kenny, COP26 is coming up. Will SP Energy Networks be involved in this?
Very much so. From a whole range of ways. We effectively run the network in Glasgow, so right from making sure that the power remains on, the additional power from all the additional sites that will be set up, whether it be for the for the TV and radio, right through to the partnership with COP26. We are one of the first companies that have went totally green, and we'll share a lot of our lessons and what we've learned in that journey to that with as part of COP26. So yes, it's right on our doorstep, and we will be involved, and right through to the arrangement setting it up. We'll have people on the board there or on the working groups helping them, because as you can imagine, it'll be a huge logistical exercise to make sure everything happens on time. So yeah, where we can help, we certainly will, and we've got good expertise within the business.
Excellent. So I've got a couple of questions here around jobs, so I'm going to put these to you. I mean, one of them you've already kind of partially answered when you were talking about apprenticeships, but one of them is, will there be lots of jobs for young people available in the future, but also are there other areas of SP Energy Networks you can work in?
Yeah, so as we said before, there's a whole lot of people similar to myself who have done hundreds of years with the business that are looking to, go and live the life and call retirement. So there's a huge amount of opportunity that's been there and is going to continue to come up over the next few years coming into industry. As I say, it is open for apprenticeships, the 3 apprenticeships. That's the trade apprenticeships, linesman, joint and fitting, the higher skills apprenticeship that Ashley is, trainee engineer, and also project management. So they're open just now, and traditionally they tend to be around about December every year. So keep watching the boards. Other opportunities that arise within the business is, as you can imagine, we have offices or we have 6 depots across the Central and South West Scotland, and within them there's a whole range of roles in there, whether it be clerical staff, support staff, logistical staff. So that there is jobs for a whole wide range of skills. And with us all being part of the Iberdrola group, we also share as well that there is businesses, or there is positions in our head office at Glasgow. So right across the patch, we're continually recruiting one way or another. If anyone is interested or going forward, what I'd strongly advise you to do is to go on to the Scottish Power or SP Energy Networks careers page and tick on the link, the link somewhere in social media, and everything that comes up you'll be notified of. So it gives you plenty of opportunity, because we're in a lot of campaigns where there's like countdowns to it, so you can see well enough in advance what's going to be coming up, and and getting yourself ready. And also what's on there as well is the contact numbers. We are a large employer, and for the majority of people, they will know somebody who works in the industry. So encourage you, ask them, get a bit of personal experience. You asked before about work experience within SP Energy Networks. That's not always easy, as to work with live electricity, you must be 18 years old. So hence the reason when we train people, we actually take them away for the first year up to Cumbernauld, Stirling, Falkirk, and work between the colleges and our training centres there. And effectively that means that when you come back to each of the districts after the year, they are then able to work within substations because they're over 18-year-old. So that always proves a challenge for us when we try to arrange work placement programmes. But if it's somebody that's genuine interest, find out somebody that works for SP Energy Networks, or a friend of a friend who works for them, and use those links to find out what you can find a bit more about us. Come into our offices, and hopefully you'll then see what we do and realise what exciting times that is ahead.
Fantastic. And we'll actually have that link at the end of our session on our careers resources page as well, so you'll be able to see it then too. So what we'll do is we'll flip back to Ashley, and we'll put a few questions to her. So Ashley, we've got quite a few questions coming actually there. So what advice would you give yourself when you were at school? So in relation to what you're doing now, is there any advice you would give yourself?
Chill out. Because, but also just think about what you want. I think when you're in school, you can be influenced by a lot of people, your pals, your parents, your teachers, which most of it is a good influence, or in the mean well. But at the end of the day, you need to do what you want to do. Like I was always encouraged positively, and I would never change that ever. But I probably would listen to my own gut more.
Yeah.
That's probably it. Do what you want to do.
Okay, some good advice there. So another question, and what do you feel the benefits are of doing an apprenticeship with SP Energy Networks?
Doing just an apprenticeship in general, I find better because you're getting a good mixture of the academic and the hands-on, which is exactly what I wanted to do. Like I worked hard for my qualifications. I wanted to use them, wanted to keep using my brain, but getting hands-on is, in my experience, a lot better. You seem to understand things better, and it's more interesting. You've obviously also got the positive that you get paid at the same time. So you're learning, you're getting experience, and you're getting a bit of money at the end of the month.
That's pretty good.
Specifically with SP Energy Networks, just the investment they make in you is amazing. The time, the effort, everything that they put into making you, a better apprentice is just unrivaled in what I've seen.
Excellent. So we've got a very typical question here, which is how's the pay? And off the back of that, when you got your first pay packet as an apprentice, did you buy yourself anything?
Well, the pay is advertised on the jobs, but I'll just tell you anyway. So for the power apprenticeship, your starting wage is 20,958 a year. So that's, in proper terms, you're taking home about £1,400 a month. Right, that's what you're looking at when you qualify. So that's after 3 years. You've got all your authorisations. You get your permanent contract. You then go up to anything between 34,000 to 36. So that's it's quite a big jump.
Yeah.
So when I got my first wage, well, I had been working before, so it wasn't like can you going for school to then going for a big wage. So the first thing I probably did was pay my bills. You know what I mean? But then so that would have been September. I'm not sure what I bought first. Probably a gig ticket. That's
a gig ticket.
Aye.
Nice. So I've got one last question for you, and then we'll go back to Kenny and put some questions to him. So obviously we've been living under COVID-19 restrictions for like the last year or so. Has that had an effect on how your apprenticeship has worked, or how you've been working?
Well, I was obviously hired kind of in the middle of the pandemic, so it's anything COVID related all I've known within the business. And none of that's really been negative, to be honest with you. Before when I was interviewing for the job and stuff, that was actually one of our tasks was to make a presentation on how COVID-19 has affected Scottish Power Energy Networks. So that gave you a bit of insight. Like the company didn't furlough anyone, so everyone was still working, everyone was full wage. But then in terms of us, like we're training and stuff, still went ahead, still fine.
Yeah.
You know, everything. There was obviously your 2 meters and masks and certain limitations, but nothing majorly that I've noticed. You know what I mean?
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll flip back over to Kenny, and I'd quite like to put that question to you, Kenny. So how has COVID-19 impacted, your job specifically, but how has it impacted SPN Energy Networks as well?
Okay, just leading on from what Ashley said there, we've got to keep lights on, so we're essential service. So, going away and coming back in 2 or 3 months' time was never an option. So we've actually kept going. We have put a whole lot of restrictions in place. The guys working outside, physical distancing. We've not had more than one person in a vehicle, for example. Some of the tasks that we're doing, we have, put in additional PPE over and above masks and things like that just to get the job done. But by and large, it's about social distancing. Far more working from home for our office and engineering staff, because as you can imagine, trying to keep social distancing in a modern office isn't good. So we've rotated our staff, come through the office. So very much the case about a day in the office, a day working from home, and days out on site. And done really well at keeping the lights on. So yeah, we've had to change quite considerably, but more importantly, we've kept going and still delivered the huge programs of work that we've got on. So never a dull moment.
Keeps you busy. So I've got a question here that's quite interesting. I'm not quite sure how you answer this one, but in school we hear that there's a lot of jobs got to be covered up that don't exist yet. How does Scottish Power plan for this?
So I think that there will be different types of jobs that come up. If we touched on earlier on, you've got all this new technologies coming up that's going to connect onto the network. And I personally feel going forward that doing the core trades that are on offer just now, the overhead line, jointing, fitting, the high skills apprentice and the project management traineeships, they give you the core skills. So you've got the trade behind it, whether it's climbing poles and operating all of our assets that are above ground, or whether it's in substations with fitting. So what you'll have is this basic core skill, a trade behind you. And as new technology develops, then there'll be additional training, additional guidance in how to operate that. So we will very much transition across to what the new skills are going forward. But you still need the core skills within apprenticeships, and that's going to be the same across all the sectors. Whether it's whether it's in some of the construction. Technology is always going to change, but you always need this core skills which gives you the fundamentals to then build on from there.
Excellent. So I've got a question here, which is, what is the main goal for the industry? So I figure I'll put that one to yourself.
So if we think SPN Energy Networks, it's all about keeping the lights on. So our main goal is to effectively make sure that everyone has a fit and proper supply of electricity. So if it goes off, we have standby teams 24/7 that'll come out, repair it and get you back on. We have an industry standard that we want everyone back on within 12 hours. And we really do work hard to make that happen, with complex faults where you're digging up you're digging up pavements in the middle of high streets, for example. That takes time, so that's got to be our biggest goal. And then all the other goals will fall in below that. So if you are going to be off supply, we try and make sure that you don't have too many interruptions. That's for us to carry out our repairs and maintenance. And the last one, or our biggest one, is to make sure that the supply is within limits, and that's why an apprenticeship, we need tradesmen going forward, because to keep within limits keeps all of our apparatus inspected. We visit it at least once a year. Some piece of plant we visit every month. The repairs and the forward-looking maintenances, they need done so that if we can anticipate a fault happening, because we see whether it's the weather or whether it's equipment starting to break down, people need to have the skills that can recognise that, carry out a full repair, and with the overall aim of keeping the lights on.
Excellent. I've got to say, when you put it like that, it sounds like a massive undertaking, to be honest.
Well, you look at the size of Central and South West Scotland, geographically, all the towns and villages and rural networks, it spans. It goes on, it's endless, goes on and on forevermore.
Excellent. So I've got another question I'd like to ask you that's come in, and it's I've lost it. There's too many questions. What different kinds of apprenticeships could I do at Scottish Power? So obviously we've talked about some of the engine, you've said in quite a lot of depth about the engineering apprenticeships or the craft apprenticeships. What other kind of areas can you work in Scottish Power?
Yeah, so I'd also jump back just to say David, as well, within the craft apprentices, depending if you're an outgoing person and as Ashley already alluded to, there isn't a great deal of females in the industry, but the whole everything's geared now that we don't lift anything above 25 kilos. There's far more use of battery operated impact guns, all these kind of things. So we've actually engineered a lot of the heavy risks out the business. So it's very much there for that effectively anyone can do it. But the biggest thing for a trade apprentice is working outdoors almost all the time. What can you say about that? So the 3 apprentices, just to go into a bit more of detail, if for some unknown reason putting a piece of wood called a pole in the ground and climbing to the top of it and swinging from it, you are 5, 6, 7, 8 meters above the ground, with a belt round about you and a couple of spikes into the pole, working overhead network. If that's the kind of thing that interests you, opportunities are there. We have cable jointers, so if you're interested, but working with your hands, bolting connections, putting pieces of cable together below the ground, opportunities are there. And then similar for working in substations. The other thing that we have as well is that people will see as well within our transmission side of SP Engine Networks, but there's also work up in the towers, the huge metal steel structures you see. So it's varied, for everybody, just really depending what your interests are, right across to office skills, whether you think I'm a good planning person, I'm a good engineer type person where I can work out what a project is and put all the elements together to make it happen, including a construction plan. It's all there for you. All the skills that a lot of people use in schools about getting ready for your exams, for how you plan out your career. Those are transferable skills into this industry that you can use and be very good at what you do by just having that planned project management skills and going forward.
Excellent. I'm not sure I could work up a 8-foot pole.
No.
I would have coped well with that. So we'll flip back to Ashley. We'll get a few questions in for you. So Ashley, we've got a few. we'll start with some of the sort of easier ones. So there's what subjects would you recommend I do in school? So if people want to move into the sort of role you're working in, what would you recommend they look at?
Well, again, it depends what level you're looking to get into. So craft apprentices, national fives, then power engineering stuff, that's hires. But maths, you need to do maths, so stick in with that. But when I was at school, so it was maths, English, physics, chemistry, business management, and graphic communications. That's just what I take. But not all of them obviously is applicable, but maths, physics definitely, and business management, to be honest, as well. I took that simply to fill up my timetable, but I'm glad that I did, because as well as the maths and the science side of things, you do have to plan and understand the kind of the business side of things as well. So that was definitely useful. So, again, it's not essential, but it's just something that was useful. But maths and physics, definitely, like, I would absolutely recommend that. If you don't have physics, then like you get taught obviously what you need to know in your college course, but if you can, maths and physics definitely.
Excellent. So what influenced you most to start this career?
I was just always interested in maths and physics, like that was my favourite things at school. But again, I liked working with my hands as well, so probably my teachers, honestly. Like, I don't have any family or anything that works in this industry, so I'd never seen it from that point of view. I'd just seen it from the point of view of these people teaching me every day, who had done different things, had been different places, who encouraged me, who made it seem like anything was possible.
Yeah.
So I probably my teachers, so listen to them.
Excellent. So we've got absolutely loads of questions coming in. I wish we had more time to get through them all, but we're going to need to draw a line under it there. So thanks very much, Ashley and Kenny, for coming along today and talking a bit about what you do and what Scottish Power and SP Energy Networks do. So that's us come to the end of this session. I would like to say a big thank you to Kenny and Ashley for taking the time to join us today and giving us an insight into their roles at SP Energy Networks. I found it interesting. I certainly hope you did too. If you need any information on advice, guidance, or anything on all things careers, you can speak to your careers advisor in school. You can also find out more information about the apprenticeships that were mentioned today on Scottish Power's website. So that's www.scottishpower.com/careers. You can also find information about the careers we talked about earlier on myworldofwork.uk. You'll find lots of information there to help you make choices about your career. And if you need some further inspiration on what to do, there are tools there that will help you understand your strengths and lots of job profiles for you to explore. As I mentioned earlier in this video, this expert session, along with all the others, will be added to the My World of Work YouTube channel under the My World of Work Live playlist. You can also check out apprenticeships.scot for more information on all things apprenticeship. We've got lots more of these sessions planned, so please check them out, and if any are of interest. Finally, thanks again to Kenny and Ashley for joining us today, and take care and have a lovely day.